Testing, testing. Mic check. Welcome, folks, to tonight's iRacing event with Gamers with Jobs. With the Imola Grand Prix. You may see in the video description the really long, official, very Italian name, but I'll just let you read that in the description. Tonight, we have 10 racers who have come out for practice. So hopefully we have a good showing at the race. As we all know, not everybody who practices races, but let's hope this time everybody does. Tonight in practice, it looks like Distant Sound running our fastest lap at a 1:45.9. I have my suspicions that will probably be beaten in the race. We'll see. T-Tran in second with a 1:46. Jesse Lynch with a 1:47. Lactose with a 1:48. So overall, a lot of good bit of our usual drivers out here. Some people we haven't seen in a couple events. Of course, how you do in practice really is irrelevant. Our grid start is random, so it doesn't matter where you place in this. It's not a qualifier. So besides Lactose, we also have Moonrazer with us tonight, Nix, Louis Alessi, Petrolhead, Lawson Christie, and Chris LTD. So now that it looks like everybody is off the course, we will wait for the gridding to start. And if you are a frequent viewer of this cast, you will know that gridding could be anywhere from almost instantly to 10 minutes. I still don't know the magic mojo that determines when this game decides to grid the cars. As far as I know, there's nothing I or anybody else can do to affect it. So we will just sort of sit and wait until that grid order is set up, which hopefully will be on the shorter side instead of the longer side this week. And we have our cars starting to grid up. Here's Louis Alessi in the number 95 Rusty's / Lightning McQueen car. I like this skin. I think it's pretty cool. As I said last week, there is a Miata running around in the Washington, D.C. region Sports Car Club of America with this paint scheme, which I think is pretty cool, except instead of Rusty's across the hood, it says Mazda, which I kind of like. I hope Mazda likes it. It's kind of neat. For those that don't know, I'll just do a quick reminder. I am an actual racer with the Washington, D.C. region, and some of these people out here are my friends, and so I like to come out and do some announcing. Here's Jesse Lynch in the number 13, his typical pink Victoria's Secret car. Nix in the Ron John, number 48. Distant Sound in the number 18, and he has typically modest black and blue configuration. Distance always a man to watch on this racetrack. T-Tran in his Hasbro car. Another person who is frequently somebody to keep your eye on for somebody that might run near the front of the pack. Lactose in his Gulf Oil, number 10. Petrol in his Wilson Security, number 91. Lawson Christie in the Snap-on, 21. Moonrazer in the Jägermeister, 51. And Chris LTD in number 11. I don't know if this is a particular scheme. Let's take a look at a different angle. Looks like we're getting a little bit of lag there from Chris. That's okay, it happens. No, it looks like just a white and black car, and that's okay. Looks like distance up in our pole position. Still says pace lap, but I don't think he cares. He is going, and that's the green flag. With 16 laps to go, it begins our race. As you can see, T-Tran right behind Distant. In third place is Jesse Lynch. Fourth is Lactose. Fifth is Nick. Sixth is Moonrazer. Seventh is Louis Alessi. Eighth is Petrolhead. Ninth is Lawson. And 10th is Chris. If I haven't said so already, tonight I am your announcer, Michael Root. Glad to have you joining us. As you can see, this is a very fast track. It's 3 miles. So that's why we're going to have so many laps tonight, because it really is a timed race. So we should burn through a lot of these laps pretty quickly. Here's T-Tran in the race to catch up to Distant. Only about half a second behind at this point. Both cars using all of the track there in that turn, and maybe just a hair bit more. Flying down the start-finish straight, those cars getting up to almost 160 miles an hour. Looks like we've had some changes in position in the back half of the pack. As you see, Distance and T-Tran in first and second. Jesse Lynch in third, Lactose in fourth, Nix in fifth, Lawson in sixth now. A little bit more changes there. It looks like Lawson's now in fifth, Petrol's in sixth, Moonrazer's in seventh, Nix is in eighth. Given that Nix just dropped 4 positions, I would assume that he spun out or had a minor incident with a wall. Hopefully his car is doing okay. We can take a quick look. He's still driving. There goes Chris in the Lagmobile. It's virtual racing, folks, so it's going to happen. From what I can tell in iRacing, lag doesn't really have that much of an effect. And here comes T-Tran pulling out in front of Distant. Taking advantage of kind of a wide, slow turn that Distant took there. T-Tran going to the inside, having a little bit more speed coming out of the turn and just sort of easily able to overtake. As I was saying before, I don't think lag's a major factor. It might look funny, you see the car kind of bouncing up and down, but the way the simulation works, it knows where that car is. It's just my client is not getting all the information, so it's making an odd guess. I don't know why the client guesses the car is 10 feet above the track, but I'm not a computer programmer. T-Tran just holding on to that lead. Take a look from Jesse's car. As you can see, he's quite a bit back, showing a 4-second gap between him and the leader. So that's 3 seconds behind Distant. So we kind of have a race going for first and second. Of note, 5th, 6th, and 7th place are all right on top of one another. Let's see if we can jump back and take a look at that. There's Petrol passing Moonracer, but then locking up his brakes a little bit, taking that turn a little too fast. So as we can see here, a good little battle going on in the mid of the pack. Moonracer taking that turn a little shallow. I think that's going to cost him. Petrol making up a little bit of time there. Moonracer having a little bit of trouble staying in control. Petrol taking advantage of everybody's mistakes and getting out ahead of both of them. Fascinating race we've got going on back here. Lawson falling a little bit more back, so you got Moonracer and Petrol really duking it out for 5th place. Here we see Distant on that main stretch, now getting upwards of 167 miles an hour. Our fastest lap time so far Well, I don't want to make any assumptions that my fastest lap time is right now because I don't think it is. But previous lap for Distant was a 1:45.8, so about a tenth of a second faster than he did in practice. So I guessed that we would probably break that practice speed, and it looks like we did. I'm showing Petrol now. I know you see on your screen he's in 5th. I'm showing him in 8th place. He must have also lost a little bit of control of his car. We can take a look back. Yeah, Petrol's back there. We've got Lewis, who's right behind Moonracer, and Lawson, who's quite a bit ahead of the rest of them. Yeah, he's definitely got some distance there. We're now looking at T-Tran's car, number 5. Distant was able to overtake while we were looking and see what was going on in the middle of that pack. So, very close racing here up front. Close racing in different sort of grouped up cars, you know, first to second obviously battling it out, but that 5th, 6th, 7th place, all those guys are relatively close to one another. It looks like Lawson's about 5 seconds ahead of Moonracer, so they're not that close between 5th and 6th. But here we come to see T-Tran, maybe looking to make a move here on Distant. Trying to be careful not to be too aggressive. He doesn't want to throw the race, and both these racers have thrown races in the past. We've seen them make mistakes, spin out, go into a wall. So I think both of them are trying to learn from past experience and keep all 4 wheels on the track. T-Tran pulling off to the left of Distant, but Distant having a little more speed there. It looks like he broke a little deeper into the turn, giving him a bit of a jump. T-Tran might have been better off just riding Distance's rear bumper there and taking the draft. Might have earned him a couple tenths of a second. You see T-Tran sort of trying to stay right behind Distant to get that draft. You can see how his car started pulling closer to Distant there, right before the braking zone. That's the advantage you get with drafting. You really want to try and stay in that draft and just let the car in front of you pull you forward. Distant maneuvering that couple set of turns, what looked to me to be a little bit better than T-Tran. He's now about 0.25 seconds ahead of T-Tran, so still a pretty close race. T-Tran going a little wide there, but managing to hold on to it. I apologize. My microphone was on mute. And here we see T-Tran making a move on Distant. Oh, a beautiful overtake there. I mean, T-Tran just sort of took the turn exactly how he should and got his exit speed higher than Distant. And then he was able to use that to get in front of Distant. And I think Distant knew the pass was going to happen. He kind of stayed in the middle of the track. Probably looking to avoid getting last place by causing a wreck. But, you know, if he would have moved to the outside line, he probably would have tripped up T-Tran a little bit. Now T-Tran really extending that lead as we go down the track. Let's go back and look at our 5th and 6th place runners. There's Louis Alessi in 6th place. Looks like Moonrazor's a little bit farther out in front in 5th now. They're both previously running pretty equivalent lap times, but Moonrazer's just a little bit higher. You can see Lawson just visible there in the background, starting to catch up to Lewis. Of course, we have Lactose chasing Jesse. There's his car. And there's Jesse, the Victoria's Secret pink car. They've got their race going on. And there's Distant Sound making the mistake, giving Lewis that breathing room that I think he was waiting for. That cost distance about 10 seconds. So that really is going to help T-Tran out. As long as he doesn't do the same thing. Now, with 10 cars on the track, this track is heating up a little bit. And of course, that can be good because it can cause your tires to stick more. Unless you're really pushing the limits of your tires. Which racers in the front tend to do. Which your tires can overheat. And when that happens, they actually lose grip. But with these cars and the amount of horsepower they have, any little mistake on the driver's part can cause them to spin out or shoot off into a wall, or any number of bad things can happen. Because these Porsches are difficult to control, and it's not because a Porsche is a difficult car to drive. They're actually very well balanced and well suited for racing. It's just a matter of horsepower. You've got a fairly light car with a ton of horsepower, and that always leads to increased driver skill to keep that car on track. Here's Distance running about 8.8 seconds behind T-Tran. Jesse and Lactose still battling out. Jesse in third, Lactose in fourth. Neither of them that close to the leader. They're about 25 seconds behind. And then you've got Moonrazer and Lewis, who are somewhere between 43 seconds for Moonrazer and 50 seconds for Lewis behind the leader. So that's another pack. And Petrol's right there as well, 55 seconds behind the leader. So really Moonrazer, Lewis, and Petrol in that sort of 5th, 6th, and 7th range. T-Tran, knowing he's got his open track, he is driving fairly conservatively, running about a 147.5 that previous lap. So he's not going to over push the car. He's going to try and keep it on the track, keep a quick pace. Doing a little bit of a brake lock up and a slide there. That's going to slow him down a little bit. But again, he's got a good lead now. And he just has to focus on keeping that car where it needs to be. Distant making up some time. Looks like he's only 6 seconds behind T-Tran now. You can see there, he's starting to be able to see him. We'll see if T-Tran slows down enough and Distant keeps up his pace, if he's going to be able to catch him. Distant now only about 5.7 seconds behind our leader. He's made up some time. Jesse Lynch actually made up quite a bit of time, now only about 17 seconds behind the leader. It's a good amount of time. It's going to be hard to make up 17 seconds, but he's made up 5 seconds, so that's a pretty good run so far. Not much changed in our overall standing so far. T-Tran in first, Distant in second, Jesse Lynch in third, Lactose in fourth, Moonrazer in fifth, Louis Alessi in sixth, Petrol in seventh, Lawson in eighth, and Nick's ninth, and Chris in 10th. Looks like our closest race right now is between fourth and third. As you can see there, these two guys are about the closest two cars on the track right now. Jesse with a moderately comfortable lead. I think if he drives clean, keeps the car on the track, you know, he's going to be hard to catch. Back to distance, he's decreased the distance down to about 4 seconds. So he's continuing to run less than a second faster than T-Tran, but still faster than T-Tran. So if he keeps this up, with 4 laps to go, there's a good chance he could catch and make this a battle for first place. No notable changes so far in our leaderboard. Everybody looks to be in pretty much the same position. Fastest lap so far being about a 1:45.8 from Distant. If he could pull that off for 2 laps, he would definitely catch T-Tran. If he could do that in 1 lap, he might catch T-Tran. We're at 3 laps to go. Distant about 3.3 seconds behind T-Tran. Running 9/10 of a second faster than our leader in that previous lap. Ever so slightly inching closer and closer to our current leader. Our other close race is Lactose and Jesse. Jesse managing to maintain the lead. Lactose taking that turn a little bit wide and slow, which is only going to help Jesse keep his lead. About a 2.7 second difference between these cars. So now our closest race is first and second. After that little bit of off track from Jesse, Distance managed to close the gap to 2.5 seconds. So he is, as I said before, ever so slightly decreasing the gap between the two cars. With the amount of laps left, he could be a real threat to T-Tran. With T-Tran having some of that brake lockup that you saw, that's obviously not going to be the fastest way around a corner. It's going to continue to slow him up. Looks like we've got a lapped car coming up. That probably is Chris, the number 11 car. if Lewis can get Chris between him and Distant, he might be able to use that to his advantage to really slow Distant up. That's something you'll see in actual road racing, is getting a slower car between two faster cars can really sort of cause that distance to increase. Because obviously the person behind you has to find a way around that car. And since it's going so slow, the situation just like that, where Distant gets caught up behind the car in a turn, forcing him to slow up, is going to give T-Tran a bit of an advantage. The gap now being about 3.1 seconds. So that kind of just eliminated an entire lapse of progress for Distant in catching up to T-Tran. You know, watching Distant, I'd like to see him in that turn that that started sort of the several turns we had there. You know, he didn't really go all the way to the outside. He didn't hit his apex. You know, being sloppy with the fundamentals of racing costs you time. And when you're trying to catch that guy in front, and there we go. I think yes, that was the exact same place he spun out before. Distant spun out again, and this being the last lap, I think T-Tran's going to be able to take it with relative ease as long as he doesn't make any significant mistakes. Now with a 12.5 second lead over Distant. You gotta watch that acceleration coming out of a corner. You get on that pedal too fast, and you'll see exactly what we saw with Distant. The car will just 360 on you as that rear end comes around. Third and fourth still about 2.3 seconds apart. When we get T-Tran across the finish line here, we probably will check those guys out. I think it's going to end with Jesse in third and Lactose in fourth, but it's always worth taking a look. And there we go. That's our finish line with T-Tran finishing in first. Distant in second. And as I thought, Jesse is going to wind up coming in with Lactose behind him. Absolutely annihilating Distance's car. See there, we still have some cars out on the track, but our results are as follows. Take a look at some of our last competitors coming around the track. You know, every mistake we saw tonight, folks, you can really chalk up to these cars being difficult to drive. I didn't see anybody going to the wall, and I don't really think we had a lot of people spending a lot of time in the pits. It was just a matter of coming out of those turns, getting on the accelerator a little too early, overstressing the limits of the tires, and the car just absolutely losing control. You see Petrol doing some donuts. So this is our finish tonight. First place, the number 5 car, T-Tran. Second was Distant Sound. Third was Jesse Lynch. Fourth was Lactose. Fifth was Moonrazer. Sixth was Louis Alessi. Seventh is Petrolhead. Eighth is Nix. Ninth is Lawson Christie. And 10th is Chris, LTD. Overall, very good race tonight. We had a lot of races going on. We sort of had a first, second place race, a third, fourth place race, and then a fifth, sixth, and seventh race. All in all, some good packs breaking out, people competing for position. It's what we like to see. I think our drivers had a good time tonight. I hope you all had a good time tonight. I want to thank everybody for coming out and watching. I hope you like these videos. If you do, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Anything you can do to just sort of let us know, we appreciate it. And everybody have a good evening.